All right. Well, welcome traders. By my clock, it is 2 o'clock sharp here on the West Coast, 5 o'clock on the East Coast, and we want to kick this thing off. Hey, thanks so much for showing up to this tonight's webinar, Profiting from Artificial Intelligence. I am really excited about this topic. It's something I just started using a few months ago in my trading. It is making a really, really big difference, and really excited to share it with you and show you what we're doing and how it's working. So I'm Dean Jenkins, founder of followmetrades.com. And again, welcome. Glad to have you here. And I am calling in right now. My wife and I are taking a little vacation, sort of. I'm working a few hours here. But we're calling in from Leavenworth, Washington, which is about an hour, hour and a half east of Seattle in the Cascade Mountains. And I tell you, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful fall day. It's crisp. It's about 59 degrees. It's clear out. The leaves are turning color. It is just spectacular. But why don't you go ahead and type where are you calling from? Type it in and make sure that you can locate the chat box. And that way, as we go along and you have questions, absolutely type in your questions, make this interactive. So find that chat box and go ahead and type in where you're calling from. And Rick's calling in from Florida. Alan's from Northern California. Hersey's down in San Diego. Another California, Charles, Somerville, Mass. Oh, they're going too fast. Kentucky, Olympia, one of my neighbors, Trinidad, nice. Tampa, Florida. And boy, the room is full. The room is absolutely full. You guys are the dedicated ones. You're here. You got your spot. That's awesome. Dennis, Mass, St. Louis, Atlanta. Well, outstanding. Well, very glad to have everybody here. And again, welcome. And do type in questions as we go. Definitely want to get your questions answered, make it interactive, and just have a really, really informative and fun session here. So again, I'm Dean Jenkins from followmetrades.com. I'm the founder of followmetrades.com. And hey, before we get started, we're going to look at some live trades, live markets. And I just want to give a quick disclaimer that I'm a trader. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not giving financial advice. We'll share some trades that we're in right now, some ideas that we have. But whether any individual decides to go act on that information, participate in the market in any way, that, it's only fair. That's the decision of each individual. It's your decision. Again, we're not financial advisors. We're sharing what we like, what we're doing. Each person has to take responsibility for their own decision. So what we're presenting is for education and information purposes. Hey, and Johnny's calling from New Braunfels, Texas. All right, New Jersey, Carolyn, Ken, City by the Bay, San Francisco. Good to have you guys here. Again, Dean Jenkins, I've been trading a long time, over 25 years now. Really started when I was working at Intel. They gave us some incentive stock options, and for a while there, it was the beginning of the dot-com boom. The thing split and doubled like clockwork, and pretty soon we had made some money on those stock options and on the incentive stock program. And it's like, hey, there's some power here. So I got very interested, started off as a fundamental trader, went to business school. Very frustrating endeavor, ended up switching and becoming a technical trader, and that's way more fun, way more profitable. And you can see my website here if you haven't seen it before. It's followmetrades.com. And so I'm a trader first and foremost. I'm trading my own account, and I really kind of stumbled into this business. Became a technical trader, became proficient at it, was making some relationships with other traders, and they're like, hey, Dean, before you take a trade, would you let me know? And it turned into this business where I have, the stock pick service. When I'm taking trades, I publish them ahead of time. You can see our long-term track record here is very, very good. I believe in complete transparency. So these buttons for each year, you go click on it, and I tells every single trade I took, when I got in, when I got out, what instrument I used to trade it, and whether it was a winner or loser, and they don't all win. But we're overall profitable. I also believe, again, in transparency. And so what I put up on the website as results get audited by a CPA firm. I started that about a year and a half ago. So each quarter I send my statements, my brokerage statements. They come look what I post on the website, and they write up a report about whether I did what I said I did. And of course, I wouldn't go through that effort if I wasn't. So that's who I am. Follow Me Trades, Dean Jenkins. And so here's what we're going to cover today. Here's the agenda. And it really starts with the question that I posed. Can artificial intelligence improve profits in trading? I wouldn't be talking about it if the answer wasn't yes, but I'll walk through for you how we got to that answer and what kind of results we're getting. So I'm going to give a brief overview, very brief. This is not meant to be a tutorial or a treatise on other trading techniques or mine in particular. But, I've got to give a brief overview. So we'll give an introduction to artificial intelligence, and how I tested that. And then when I went live, the results I got. And then we're going to give an overview of the artificial intelligence tool that we're using. And we'll even analyze some trades you're looking at using the tool. So that'd be fun. And then we'll close out with how to find out some more about the tool that we are using. So hang on and stay with us. There's a lot of good information coming here. So my trading, here's, I've been trading for years, been successful for years, right? I use a combination of Dow theory, which is really just trend theory. How do you know when you're still in a trend? How do you know when it's changed? And Dow theory is really just a series of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and an uptrend, and then lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and a downtrend. And that pattern will shift when the trend is changed. I use Ichimoku Cloud as a simple filter. I don't use the Chiku line and all that stuff. I really just use the shaded region, looking for price to be above or below as a confirmation, and it does an amazing job of projecting support and resistance areas and predicting trends and trend changes and confirming trends and trend changes. I use a very simple approach to Elliott Wave, and I'm using Elliott Wave to go, are we in a trend? Has a trend, continuing? All trends at some point, even Apple is going to correct someday. So all trends, I'm looking to get into a big impulsive move, and after it changes, I may trade the correction, and then after the correction, quite often there is a continuation of that original trend. That's all I'm really using it for. Just where are we at in the cycle here? I know some people go nuts with Elliott Wave and overcomplicate it. I'm not about that. I'm just looking for big moves, corrections, continuations. My overriding criteria in a trade is there got to be a high probability outcome that I can recognize using those tools. There's got to be a good reward to risk ratio. So I got to be able to make more on the trade if it wins than I would lose if it fails. Surprisingly, that sounds obvious. Surprisingly, there are a lot of trading systems out there that actually have a poor reward to risk ratio, and people trade them. And I'm always astounded that you could lose more, right, on the trade if it fails than you would make if it wins. Interesting. I don't do that. And then in all my trading, I use strict risk management on every trade. So before I put a trade on, the first decision is, it's got a high probability of winning. I'm not taking it if I don't think it's going to win, but I also know it could fail. And so I limit the amount of money that I would lose if the trade does fail through strict risk management and rigid formulas for position sizing and stop placement. So before I go into a trade, I already have accepted what the loss would be if it fails, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be an amount that would not be a setback, and that I could continue trading. And I don't like it, but it's a loss that I can deal with. Okay, I'm looking for swing and trend trades, kind of a combination. I do not chase mature trends. I'm looking for something new to happen. I want a channel breakout, a new trend, a corrective move, a trend continuation after a correction. So, I mentioned Apple and others, if they've been in this big, long, amazing uptrend, I'm not getting in those. It's too mature. I'm going to wait for a correction. So I'm looking for new things in my trade setups. In 2018, as we approached the middle of the year, I'm showing the results, for 2018, the bottom line in this table. So through July 18th, right, I was behind pace, right? The previous years I'd been up, 25, 30% average, and I was behind pace. And then, I was trying to go, okay, this is going to be one of those years, huh? And remember, maybe not really surprising because I don't join mature trends. And if you think, we've been in a bull market for 9 years, most of the charts were very mature trends. So it's getting kind of hard to find trade candidates. And I'm always, want to be a lifelong learner, always trying to find out something new and increase the edge in my trading. So I started looking for ways to detect changes in trends earlier and maybe smaller moves that I could participate. And as I was thinking that through and looking at my results, going, man, we got to do something here. We got to respond to the current market conditions a little better, right? I was approached by Vantage Point, which is an artificial intelligence trading software company, and they had heard of me. They heard I was a good trader with a good track record, a solid reputation, and they invited me to evaluate their tools. Reached out, said, "Hey, Dean, let us demo our tools and you can evaluate them as well." So I did some initial evaluation, and I was intrigued. It really looked interesting. One of the things when I'm teaching courses and teaching people is I caution against chasing shiny objects, the newest, latest indicator. We want to be really careful about that. And I certainly have turned down several offers and shiny objects, but this looked like it had some meat, and so I was willing to spend some time. And in that process of talking to Vantage Point, I kind of threw down a gauntlet, and I said, "Hey, I'll test your tool, I'll test your software, but I'm going to do it in front of a live audience in my trading room. And win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a public outcome of testing." And they readily agreed. And I thought that was pretty cool. That was a great degree of confidence, and there was no influence that Vantage Point ever had over how I'm going to test it, how I'm going to use it. They just said, "Yeah, well, you can use the tool, you can test it, do it in front of your audience, and the results will be what they're going to be." So I tested it for 3 weeks on live markets using a sim account. So live markets, this is important. So this is forward testing, not back testing, where we use the tool, we run it through the filter of my trade setups, use it as an enhancement to my trading, which is how we use it. Live markets, look for setups. Okay, there's a setup. The tool's calling out. I placed the trade in sim under realistic conditions, and did it in front of 50 to 100 people. And so we got witnesses. Right? Here's the results we got. After 3 weeks of testing, to get a statistically significant test sample, you got to get at least 30, right? At least 30 trades. So we did. I wanted to get at least 30, and we did. We got 31 trades. Ended up with a win ratio of 52%, which you may go, "Oh, that's not that great." What's a more important statistic in trading analysis is your payout ratio. Payout ratio was 2.7 to 1. That means the winners were nearly 3 times bigger than the losers. And that's because the tool can help us manage the trades for minimum losses. So really, really good stuff. So at the end of 3 weeks, 31 trades, we had, based on a $50,000 account, we had made $3,700, round up from $3,685. $3,700, that's 7.37% increase in the account in 3 weeks. That's pretty darn good. If you remember, year to date, 7 months, I was at about 3%, right? This made double what I'd done all year in 3 weeks. Had my attention for sure. And I said, okay, these are good results. I'm going to go live, right? And we all know testing results, even under the most realistic conditions possible, don't always match up with live results. So I said, but I'm convinced enough, I'm confident enough, we're going to go live. So we started doing live testing or live trading using AI, using Vantage Point. And so we did that on August 20th, first live trade using Vantage Point. And from August 20th till now, so this is 2 months, taking 27 trades. We're running about the same 52% win rate with a 2-to-1 payout ratio. And we've made about $8,500, about 8.6% profit from trades that we used Vantage Point for. So the answer, to the initial question, can AI help trading profitability? The answer is absolutely yes. And in the same time frame, from August 20th through October 19th, as we're making $8,500 or 8.6% profit, I thought I'd show the indexes in that same period of time, right? S&P down 3%, Dow Jones down 1%, NASDAQ down 2.58. And so not only did we get profit, we blew away the indexes. And even if we'd just gone short the indexes, right, we did way better because we were finding individual trades that blew this away, no matter how you look at it, long or short. So this has definitely helped me. I'm impressed, and we're using it. We're going to continue using it in the trading. So I have not abandoned the tools I use, the setups I'm looking for, Dow Theory, Ichimoku Cloud, Elliott Wave. I haven't abandoned my criteria. What I did was used Vantage Point to help me. So remember, I'm looking for swing trades. I don't chase mature trends, right? I'm looking for something new, a channel breakout, a new trend, a corrective move, a trend continuation. So Vantage Point AI helps me. It helps me to scan because it's predicting what's going to happen next. So it can help me scan for something new that's about to happen that meets my criteria. It'll give me early confirmation of something happening that I may see from other scanning tools. And during my trade management, once I'm in a trade, It helps me stay in winning trades longer by predicting what's going to happen next or get out of a loser early based on these predictions. So really, really good stuff. And again, it's helping my trading. And Eva is a member of the Follow Me Trades team, and she has really dug in and become the expert on Vantage Point. And so I'm going to have her go ahead and drill in just a little bit, show you how we're using the tool, what it looks like, a couple of the displays, and then again, how we're using it. So Eva, you're up.
Okay, I'm switching my screen over now. All right. So Vantage Point can look at different sectors and markets. These are the ones you can look at: futures, Forex, ETFs, US stocks, Canadian stocks, and cryptocurrency. At Follow Me Trades, we're using ETFs and US stocks to look for our trade candidates. So within that US stock sector, it breaks it out into additional sectors, as you can see here: basic materials, cannabis, capital goods, etc. So that's kind of how it's set up. Now at Follow Me Trades, as Dean was saying, we're using Vantage Point to not only identify but to manage our trades. But what I'm going to do is show you how I identify potential stock setups, and then how we further analyze it to determine whether or not it's a good trade candidate for us. So when you open up a chart in Vantage Point, there's various things you can add in. I'm going to explain the medium-term crossover analysis. So here, this blue line here, that is the medium-term crossover. That represents a 4-day exponential moving average, and this is based on 31 intermarket correlations that Vantage Point has identified for this stock. This line here, the black one beneath, that is a 10-day simple moving average. Another wonderful feature that helps determine your trades for the next day is the forecasted range for the next day. And when we go live, when I go over this bar, it will show you the highs and lows for the next day. The other really great feature is this neural index. This is an early trade indicator on whether or not it's going up or down, and this is a graphic representation of the artificial intelligence. Then below here, we've got 3 lines. This turquoise one is the 1-day momentum forecast. The fuchsia one here is the 2-day, and the darker blue is the 3-day. These are all momentum forecasts based on the artificial intelligence. And so let me show you how we use all this information. So here we want to look at, when does this blue line cross over the black line? And if it does, then you go down, look at your neural index. Is it green? Is it going in the same direction that the crossover is indicating? And then down here, these 3 lines, you would like them to be going up at a 45-degree angle to confirm that, yes, this is a good candidate for a long. But that's the first step. You also then can come over here and see when it crosses over to the bearish side. The blue crosses over the black, the neural index turns red, and the 3 lines are heading down. So let's look at a possible stock that are, so once you've seen the charts, what to do. Now, how do we get our candidates? These are just screenshots from the Vantage Point software. But this is what we go through to get our medium-term crossover candidates. I put in our US stocks, and then we're looking at the medium-term crossover, anything that's happened in 3 or less days. You want your neural index up, your short-term difference. These are the 3 lines on the bottom. You want all those heading up, and you want the predicted range to head up. Now at Follow Me Trades, we add this volume because we want to make sure that there's enough volume to make it a good trade that we can get in and out of. Same thing, just the exact opposite when you're looking at shorts. We just reverse everything to the down. Now this is a basic scan. There are very sophisticated or different things you can add into these scans. I'm just starting with this because this is actually one of the primary scans I look at every night. So I ran a scan this week and Avon came up. It's like, oh, this is looking good. We have a recent high here. The current price line was down here. We had a medium-term crossover. The green neural index point was in the right direction, and all three lines were going up. Now, the important thing is Vantage Point is good for identifying potential candidates. Then you incorporate your trading strategy to determine if it is a trade you want to actually take. In this situation, I wanted to point out that we chose at Follow Me Trades not to take this because, as you can see when we look further out on the chart, there's been a very long downtrend and we weren't going to chase that. However, yesterday, it changes at 6:30 at night. So over the weekend, Dean and I identified this ETF, MJ. So everything it was telling us on Friday for today's trading day is the forecast was going down. You had a red neural index. You had a crossover. All these three lines were heading down. And so it looked like a great candidate. Now today, see this black line here? That's where it closed today. So that was fantastic. Now I want to show you, I'm actually in the Vantage Point software at this point. So we pulled up the S&P 500, and it's very interesting that here is the predicted values I told you when you go over the gray bar. And if you look, the low today that they predicted matched up to the low of the S&P today. And it closed at the far end of this range. Now, forecasting with the red neural index that it's going to continue down. Everything's looking very positive for going down. The other interesting thing we'd like to point out is here is the crossover for when the market started going bearish. And Vantage Point was able to forecast that 4 days before it actually happened. So, Dean, anything else you want to comment on?
That was an amazing prediction. Again, 4 days before those big moves down started. Vantage Point was screaming, "Go short, go short!" And so we're showing the December S&P E-mini contract here, but you would have seen the exact same thing on SPY or any of the other S&P 500 ETFs. So you could trade it with futures, you could trade it with the ETF, or with options, whatever your preference is. But the tool did a phenomenal job here of predicting that down move on the S&P. I'm totally impressed with that.
So at this point, do you want to look at some possible trade candidates?
Yeah, so why don't we, for the participants, if you got a couple symbols you'd like to look at, type them in. We'll take a look and see what Vantage is saying and give you guys feedback on that. So Joseph, there's CCL. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one. Oh,
now I do want to tell every stock is not in here because they only include stocks that there is the correlation factor that they have, because it's 86% success rate in their forecasts, and so they need to have the correlations in order to come up with that success, and they will not include any stock that they do not feel they have a true correlation and can forecast properly.
Hey, what was your question, Tim? I saw that you said it was missed. What was your question? We'll try and catch it here.
So this is CCL. And again, this will be updated at 6:30. So we're looking at what Friday's information was. So I'm not sure if this went up or down today. I'm going to try to quickly get a price for it. So it went down as forecasted. So things, I didn't have this in, I didn't explain this one early. This is a triple crossover. So you have a short term, a medium term, a long term, and then triple when they've all crossed. I like including the triple cross on my charts because often you'll see, as here, it is a very good resistance level, and you'll see the prices bounce off, bounce off, bounce off. So once it crosses over, that's a very strong indication that the stock is moving in the direction that the crossover occurred, such as here. Crossover was there, it went over the long-term crossover there, and everything's been down since. So to look at CCL, on Friday it forecasted that the range, the high was going to be 57.82, the low 56.84. It actually went a little bit below the forecasted, and it closed at 56.48. Everything long term here is just flat to slightly down. Short and medium term are down. So you may, this has been going for a while, it may be slowing a little bit, but today it went down more, so this could all change on tonight's chart. Anything else you see, Dean?
There was a question about what the software says for the ES tomorrow. That answer will be available in about an hour. That's when the data gets uploaded. And then someone else asked, can it be used intraday? So it's really, the data is presented on a daily chart, so it's not really ideal, I don't believe, for intraday trading. We do have a couple reps from Vantage Point here, and Daniel's going to talk in just a moment and give just a little bit more information. Maybe he can address that more thoroughly. But let's grab a few more symbols. A lot of people are asking about the QQQ. That came up several times. That's the NASDAQ ETF. You want to look at that one, Eva?
Okay. It comes up as the ultra or the short. Which one? Or the power shares? Which one do you think I should grab?
Go for the
QLD?
just the QQ.
Oh, this one here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize, everyone. Okay, so it actually was showing long and short term. We're starting to show signs on Friday of going up. Or long and medium term, I'm sorry. Short term was still heading down.
And so predicted today would be down a little bit, but there may be an uptick on the shorter time frames, right?
Correct.
How to interpret that? But it's still under the triple cross, so it could move up to that and then reverse and continue down.
Yes. As you see here, this is a place it challenged. So, for instance, one way, if you wanted to look at this, is you're looking for a good entry point. It's like, oh, it's going down. It looks like, you know, we're chasing and it might be too late. So when it comes back up and doesn't cross it, sometimes that's a good entry point.
Perfect. Amy's asking about TLRY. That I don't recognize. I don't know if that may be one that doesn't show up. Again, it's not.
TLRY? No.
IBB from David. I know that's an ETF. I think that's the pharma.
IBB. There we go. So IBB, it started showing just a few days during the week last week. It started showing signs of heading back up, but it did not cross over. It just, or I guess it temporarily crossed over and then it came right back down.
So it's predicting a pretty big move today. What was the low predicted for today? Let me look on that.
109.80.
And so IBB. Oh, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to take yours away real quick.
Okay.
because this, you got to see this. Uh, so IBB Vantage Point predicted that the low would be 109.80, you said?
109.80, correct.
Okay, so I'm going to share what today's actual results were. So here's IBB, and it closed today at 109.62. A little lower than predicted, but definitely pretty much that same exact price bar that was predicted is what happened today. That's pretty impressive.
109.62. I added a line so everyone can see that.
Okay, so you go ahead and take it back. I just wanted to point that out. That's pretty darn good.
That's great. So here's where it closed. Now, I don't think anyone would get too upset if they were shorting this and it went a little bit beyond the forecast and they made a little bit extra money.
And can you show the error lines? We were going to do that.
Oh, yes. Thanks for, oh. So you can go back and see the red line is the forecasted high, the black one's the forecasted low. So you can go back and see over time how close they were.
And you
in
can
their
see in
forecast.
these big moves, any error is to your favor. Like in the short, like today, it went below the predicted low. But if you were short that, you're definitely okay with it.
It's also, if you want to build confidence in the interpretation of the forecast, you can go back and analyze the stock you're looking at and see, oh, it did behave as the software forecasted and predicted.
Yeah, and just if people don't get this, what we're looking at on this display, the red line and the black line, I mean, I think this is showing really impressive transparency from the tool that they're showing you what they predicted for that day, and then you look at what actually happened with the price bar, and um, it's accurate to an uncanny degree.
And I'm looking at 3 months, but you can go out 6 months and you still see it. You can go out 9 months and it's all still falling right in line.
Pretty good. And I think Daniel's going to talk more about scans there, Charles. Let's look at one more here for JP Intel, and then we'll turn it over to Daniel. And I think he's a rep from the company. He's in a better position to answer some of the specific questions.
So here's Intel. So when I look at this chart, it's in a good downtrend. All signs are the downtrend's continuing. And can you tell me where it closed today, Dean? Because it did have a nice
4501.
4501. Okay. So it actually went up a little bit today.
Yeah.
So that's one. But if you look, let me put this in 4501 so you can visually see it better.
Yeah. And David's asking, is it one day look ahead? It's really good for 1 to 3 days out based on the momentum lines and the collection of forecasts and indicators. It's projecting one price bar out, but we use it, for 2 to 3 days.
So here, and that's why I like to have this triple cross line on my chart, because it puts it in perspective. Now, some people may use something like that to trail their stop, and there's all different ways you can use this information. It's all how your individual trading style is and how close you want to trail stops. But you still, I mean, it gives you space for fluctuation, because sometimes there's small corrections on the way down.
And so a lot of the questions are leaning into really specifics on the tool, and that's awesome. So I think it's a good time. Go ahead and hand it off to Daniel, and he can really drill into that.
Okay.
So you're up, Daniel.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody, Dean, can you hear me okay?
It's great. Yeah, sounds great.
Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna get sharing my screen here as soon as Dean makes me a presenter. A lot of great questions. A lot of great questions about the software, about Vantage Point, and I'm going to dive into some of those questions. Let me just grab the screen. Bear with me a second while I hit a couple of buttons. And before we jump into the software, I just want to kind of give you a background on our organization, on our company, on the artificial intelligence and what we've been doing here at Vantage Point. So you should be able to see profiting from artificial intelligence. This is me. My name is Daniel. I, like Dean, have been trading the markets for over 20 years. Kind of a similar story. I was at a pharmaceutical company and got a whole lot of restricted stock units that split and split and split, and that got me into trading at a young 20 years old. You know, I've been for the better part of a decade now. I've been helping traders utilize artificial intelligence as a technical analysis coach, an expert in the field of artificial intelligence as it's applied to the financial markets for individual traders. So our goal is always with our software to help traders like you know, preserve your capital first and then build on that and take incredible profits out of the markets. So I want to cover a couple of things. Dean, I appreciate everything you guys have done so far. I can't get over the results and how it was live tested in front of an audience. You know, it's always nice to hear confirmation of what our current customers are telling us, especially when those results come from a live audience. Anyway, onto the agenda. I want to cover a couple of things first, and then I'll dive into the software and I'll answer some of the questions that were in the chat. I want to define some of the common trading problems. You guys know what they are. I just want to review them. I want to explore artificial intelligence as it's being adapted by the world. I want to introduce you to our artificial intelligence trading and investing experts here at Vantage Point. And then I want to explain intermarket analysis. Dean, there was a couple of questions about, you know, is the predicted value one standard deviation or is it average true range? I'm going to get into the details as to how those predictions are generated, and then we'll jump back into the software and kind of walk through exactly what the interpretation of the software is. So the first agenda item, the common problems, I think everybody on this call knows what those are, most of the traders that I talk to. You know, we're all doing the right things. We believe we're doing the right things. Problem is we're spending a lot of time on analysis. We use a lot of different trading tools. And what I find with the people that I coach is that, you know, people are barely breaking even in the markets. And now you guys are trading with Follow Me Trades and Dean, so you're doing better than most. I've seen his results and I've followed him myself. But there's always more. There's an opportunity to do more. And usually what I hear is that, you know, people get confused. You don't know what the right trade is. You don't know when the right time is to get in. You get in too late, or maybe you get in on time and you get psyched out and you get out of the position too early and it takes off and left you at the train station. Or one of the worst case scenarios, I think, is you get into a position and you make money and you think it's going to keep on going, only to watch your profits erode to the markets. And those problems, and there's more, you know, position management, stop loss, making more effective stops. There's a lot of other things that artificial intelligence can help you with. And those are the problems that we aim to solve with Vantage Point. There's 5 primary things. If I boil it down and say, where can artificial intelligence give you the biggest gains? There they are on the screen. You know, select the best direction, select the best trade. The entry points are key. Managing positions with confidence, which I know, Dean, you've found that ability, and then exit at the right time. You know, I like to think that exiting at the right time is the most valuable one on the list. As long as you found the right trade at the right time, that exit could really, really make a difference. So I know these are very powerful things. So let me talk about a little bit how that's even possible with artificial intelligence. And I want to explore artificial intelligence and really how it's being used across the world these days. It seems to be a catchphrase lately. You know, and I want to give you a little background on it. Some of you probably know this guy. I like to talk about Mark Cuban because he is he's kind of a whiz. He's billionaire. You know, he's the owner of the Mavericks, one of the owners of the Mavericks. He's on Shark Tank. He actually has more money than all the other sharks combined, I believe. So check out this quote that he says about artificial intelligence. He says, "I'm telling you, the world's first trillionaires are going to come from someone who masters AI. It's just going to blow everything away." He says it'll produce more technological advances over the next 10 years, more so than we've seen in the last 30 years. Someone is going to create something that no one has conceived of before. That's powerful. And he's not the only one. I mean, Bank of America published a report. They say AI is going to yield 14 to 33 trillion in economic impact by 2025. That's trillion. That's a lot of money. I even read a report from McKinsey that confirmed that. They said it's 50 trillion of economic value through 2025. So AI is just getting started. This guy, Andrew Ng, some of you may have seen him or known him or heard about him. He's an alumnus from Carnegie Mellon. He's also the former chief scientist at Baidu. He led the company's AI group, as you can see there. He's quoted as saying, artificial intelligence is the new electricity. Just as 100 years ago, electricity transformed industry after industry, AI will do the same. Now, he's a thought leader in the industry, and it's just remarkable to hear something like that come from somebody like that. I've even read articles, I think it was a Wall Street Journal, that said AI is the next industrial revolution. And some of you may have been reading lately, it's a lot of places it's saying it's called the fourth industrial revolution, which you can imagine, if those of you that take advantage of AI and utilize it for your trading, it kind of puts you in the driver's seat when it comes to your financial freedom. You guys know the companies that are using AI. There's a couple of them listed here on the screen. IBM has Watson. Some of you are maybe watching this on an Apple iPhone. Heck, I think the iPhone 10 or X or whatever they're calling it, iPhone 10s, has the most advanced artificial intelligence chip ever made for a phone. So it's just the way the world is going. And it's really shaking up, and disrupting every nook and cranny of business and commerce worldwide when you sit back and think about it. Goldman Sachs went on to say AI will instigate disruption in industries much like the advent of the internet did. Back when the internet really took hold and took off and people use it the way we use it today, it changed business forever. I mean, business and investing became more effective, more efficient. And we're faced with the very same opportunity right now. The people that commit to using AI will reap the rewards, and the people that don't, unfortunately, would be left behind. So that's kind of the details of how, AI is being used in the world. There's even a story from Nest Thermometers. I don't know if you guys heard of how, Google purchased Nest for $3 billion in cash. And they did it for one reason. It was the AI technology. Nest created technology with artificial intelligence that can basically measure, factors in the home, whether there's people home or cooking or time of day, all these different factors, and make an adjustment on the temperature before the temperature actually changes in the home. It's able to detect whether it needs to go up or down before the temperature even changes. That's remarkable when you sit back and you think about it. So we've been using that kind of technology for a long time. As a matter of fact, let me introduce you to those guys. That was the next point on the agenda. First of all, this is Lane Mendelsohn on your screen. He's been on major publications around the world talking about our artificial intelligence. He was on Fox Business at one point, and just kind of give you a little story on this. It was like 5:30 in the morning on a Monday morning. The markets hadn't even opened yet, and they invited him on as a financial analyst to talk about the artificial intelligence. And it was remarkable because the host said to Lane something like, your artificial intelligence was able to predict the January market drop. And he says, what does it say this time? Said the host. I forgot her name, Tracy, I think it was. Now remember, it was about 5:36 a.m. in the morning. You'd see it was still dark outside. And he said the AI indicated a bullish trend on the horizon. You can imagine what happened next. The next 5 days, the market rallied. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were all up days. And he was able to do that because of the technology. And plus, he's a second-generation phenom. He's interacted with traders like John Murphy and Larry Williams and some of the professional traders around the world since he was a little kid. Not many of us have that kind of expertise, and he got it from this guy right here. This is Louis Mendelsohn. That's his father. He's the CEO of our company. I talk to him every single day. He grew up in the projects. He'll tell you he didn't have it easy. It wasn't until trading and artificial intelligence that he really, became a self-made millionaire. He's helped, hundreds of thousands of traders have sought his advice and his expertise, over the years. We've got customers in over 130 countries worldwide. He's a best-selling author of these 4 books, and he's been on, all the major publications. You can look at some of these pictures, Dean, and I laugh when I look at these sometimes, because you can tell they're from the late 80s, early 90s. You got CNN, CNBC, Bloomberg, Moneycast. There was even an article published on the NASDAQ calling him a legend on Wall Street. And you can see from these pictures, he's talking about artificial intelligence and he's been utilizing artificial intelligence in his trading since the late 80s. As a matter of fact, I think it was, Friday was the 31st anniversary of Black Monday. And that's when artificial intelligence for Mr. Mendelsohn really became the reality. He's also a Carnegie Mellon alumnus. Carnegie Mellon, I think still at this point, is a leader in artificial intelligence research and development. That was 1969 when he was at Carnegie Mellon. Just to give you a little timeline going forward, it's in 1979 our company was started. Mr. Mendelsohn was the first person to create backtesting on a personal computer. He made it available to the public in 79. And then, like I say, in the late 80s, he moved into AI, and he released Vantage Point in 1991. There wasn't a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence, and Mr. Mendelsohn released Vantage Point software that utilized artificial intelligence back then. Matter of fact, we were the first company in the world to bring AI to technical analysis for trading. And with the way artificial intelligence is going these days, I think the power is undeniable. Moving on to the next point, so we can keep it moving. I want to explain intermarket analysis, and the reason I want to explain this is because this is the genesis for how the artificial intelligence works. Intermarket analysis simply means analyzing the relationships between the markets. We don't have to think much deeper than that, but how that analysis is done is really the key. Let me show you what I mean. And some of you will probably recognize this stuff. Here's a couple of charts for about 7 months on the E-mini, NASDAQ, and Amazon. And if I just draw a line on this chart, you can see that this is a good investment, if you will. It closed at the end of this chart higher than the entry. If I move that line down, you'll see that the Amazon stock by itself follows the same line. What I'm trying to get at here is intermarket analysis. By looking at what the NASDAQ is doing, knowing it has a correlation and a relationship with Amazon, you can figure out what Amazon is going to do. Now, if you guys don't change anything from here going forward, I want you to remember this. Write down intermarket analysis, because you can do this piece by yourself. If you look at one market that is driving and influencing another market, you can get better information about your trades. This is a basic form of intermarket analysis. Here's a chart for the financial sector ETF as well as Bank of America. I'll draw the same line on this. This isn't a moving average. I'm just drawing a line to show the movement. Because if I move that line down to Bank of America, you can see that the movement of Bank of America mirrors the ETF, or maybe the ETF mirrors Bank of America. I guess that depends on how you really look at it. But what I'm trying to get across, and I think you can see it very clearly, is that if you know one market that is correlated and moves or drives another market, you can use that information to make more profitable trading decisions. The E-mini S&P 500, same thing. You can see it on the screen here. The E-mini is going up. When the ES is going up, we all know this, I think. Gold is the safe haven, right? So gold has an inverse relationship. If the E-mini was going down, gold would be going up. In this case, the E-mini is going up, so gold is going down for the same time period. That's an inverse relationship. So when we do intermarket analysis, some of the relationships are going to be inverse. Some of them are going to be correlated relationships, one driving the other, and they're going to go side by side. The problem that Mr. Mendelsohn found way back in the 80s is that this kind of analysis is good. It's better than not doing intermarket analysis, but there's so many relationships. I like to use the analogy of an iceberg to highlight what I mean. If we think back to let's call the Titanic, everybody knows the story. They hit an iceberg. If they had sonar, if they had equipment that could see below the surface, they probably wouldn't have hit that iceberg, because they could go around what they could see. They couldn't go around what they couldn't see. And I use this analogy because I think it makes a very good point to say that the relationships that are out there, there's so many of them, they're vast. A lot of them are not able to be seen by the naked eye. It's just humanly impossible to see the level of relationships. And that's where artificial intelligence comes in. That's where AI has the ability to scan the 10,000 plus markets around the world and calculate and crunch all that data and find hidden patterns and relationships that are beneath the surface, things that I can't see, things that you can't see, and then use that information to generate predictions like Dean was talking about so that you can be a more profitable trader. So I know, Eva, you went over the software, and I appreciate that. I love seeing how you use it because, you know, in the few months that you've been using it, you really understand how the indicators work. So I'm going to hop into the software really quickly and kind of walk through some more things and talk about the forecast as well, maybe answer some of the questions that were out there. You should see the software on the screen right now. I pulled it over. You guys can see that, right?
No, we're still seeing PowerPoint, Daniel. You might have shared the app instead of the monitor.
Okay, thank you. I always like to check that because, you know, as a trader using artificial intelligence, that stuff seems easy to me, and everything else, maybe not so much. Let me just go back to the app here. All right, here we go. Let's share. All right, I think I've got it now. Let me just pull in Vantage Point. How about now?
There we go. Perfect.
Sorry about that, guys. Never said I was a pro at meetings. All right, so let's take a look at this. What we're looking at right here is the SPY. Now, Eva, you brought up the S&P 500, the ES, and I wanted to show the SPY on the long-term prediction because, like you said, Dean, whether you're looking at the ES or you're looking at the SPY, it follows the same track. Let me just jump into a couple of the questions. Number one, yes, Vantage Point works on an Apple, on a Mac, as long as you have parallels. It does need a Windows environment, so you have to segment with parallels. It is not Mac native. It is Windows-based software. Eva, you ran through the different asset classes, and you're exactly right. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see everything that's forecasted. If I open them up, it's exactly like you said, 13 sectors here in the U.S. stocks. And then in the ETFs, you can see there's 10 different sectors here in the ETFs. Now we make it easy for the trader. You know, if you want all the ETF sectors, you can definitely purchase all of the ETF sectors. If you just want the United States ETF sectors, which has all, you know, the Qs, it's got diamonds, SPY, you know, a lot of the sector ETFs, you can just get that one. Same thing with the stocks. You don't have to get all 13 sectors. You can pick and choose either one sector. We do it in packages of 1, 3, 6, and 13. So we can get into that a little bit later, but we make it so it's flexible and you can decide which sectors you want to keep, and you can add on to your software anytime you want. What we're looking at here is the SPY, and what I wanted to show you is how those predictions are done, how the blue line is drawn, how Eva's yellow line is drawn, how these predictive differences in the neural index are calculated. And it's based on that intermarket analysis. Let me show you. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to bring up the spider properties. When I open up the SPY here, let's see if I can stretch this window. There's over 30 markets. I think I got them all in here. Just about 30 markets here on the left. There's a whole host of ETFs, that are being analyzed to predict the SPY. You can see diamonds is in there. You can see Qs is in there. You can see that there's several other ETFs, including the Vanguard Value ETF, VTV. There's also currencies. I would have never guessed to see the US dollar Israeli shekel as a Forex pair influencing the SPY. The euro, the yen, the US dollar index. This is where the artificial intelligence comes in. I wouldn't be able to find these intermarkets. I wouldn't be able to do intermarket analysis on this many markets. Sure, I can lay two charts on top of each other and kind of get a feel for it like we did in the presentation a second ago, but the artificial intelligence can analyze all of the markets and then figure out which 30 markets are influencing this. Look, there's gold, the S&P 500, Scroll down, here's a list of stocks that are influencing it: CarMax, Cedar Fair, Lowe's. There's over 30 markets for every single stock and ETF that's forecasted in Vantage Point. So the AI goes out and finds the markets that are influencing this stock or this ETF. And not only is it figuring out which ones are influencing it, but it knows the directional impact. So it knows whether it's going to push the SPY up, sideways, or down. All right. Not only that, but it knows the degree of impact. Some of these are going to be weighted more so than others. I could imagine that this Israeli shekel is not going to be weighted as much as the US dollar in this intermarket analysis, whereas gold or interest rates will have a bigger impact. The AI knows which markets are influencing it, the degree of impact, and the directional bias. That whole actually, the software was awarded 2 patents. One of them is on this process I'm talking about. There's nobody else in the world that's doing this level of analysis. It's just remarkable. So this is the key to the Vantage Point artificial intelligence. It's doing this analysis and then generating the predictions that Eva and Dean have been talking about.
Got a couple great questions here, Daniel, if it's a good time.
Yes, please. Yeah, let me get back to the questions and let me pull them up here so I can get a little feel for it. You want to read some of those off to me, Dean, and I'll try to find my way over there?
Yeah, Odette's asking about intraday trading.
Great question. Thank you, Odette. We do have some intraday traders that use Vantage Point, but I can tell you it's designed specifically for swing traders. The intraday traders and the day traders use the predicted high and low to get information about the day, and then they'll play off of the high or low and take several short positions. After it bounces off the high and turns around, they'll take a quick short, or vice versa, bounces off the low and reverses, they'll take a quick long position, or if it breaks through the predicted low, they'll use that as a level of support and take another short position. So it has some functionality for intraday traders, but it is designed for swing traders. It is end-of-day data.
This is a daily interval that you're showing here. That's
it is.
The default, and the only display, right, is a daily interval.
You're exactly right. It's end-of-day data, and it updates at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time every single day, and it generates the predictions for the next trading day. So the predictions that Eva was looking at and we're looking at here were available on Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So what is that, 72 hours ago? So when you think about how it nailed the ES and how it nailed some of the other stocks on the predicted high and low, that information came out on Friday before the weekend and before market trading session today.
I went through many, and I have them queued up, the stocks individuals wanted to look at, and it's amazing how many fell right into that range that was forecasted.
Yeah, that's usually the reaction. I'm glad you said that, because it's remarkable how accurate the predicted high and low can get when it's based off of that intermarket analysis. Looking at let me see, there's another question from Tim. Isn't Spider US? Why is it separate? Oh, that's a great question. So what Tim is talking about here is the different sectors. So let me go back to that. Let me open up what's called the market tree. And if I go over here, there's several ETFs. There's a section, let's call it a sector, if you will, of Spider ETFs. These are only ETFs found in the S&P. So they range. There's a lot of different ETFs in here. And every single one of these, just like any other stock or ETF, is tested to have a minimum accuracy. We don't allow any ETF or stock in the software futures market, or any asset for that matter, if it can't be forecasted with at least 70% accuracy. That's the low. The average is 80% with a high at 86%. That kind of accuracy is very, very valuable. And yes, it does forecast for futures. There's a lot of different futures in here. Actually, you can purchase up to 66 different futures markets. If I pop open the energies, there's light sweet crude, natural gas, RBOB. So it does have futures as well. That was another question that we had in the chat. One of the other things, let me see.
Let me jump in and ask, because Michael was asking about stats beyond the test. We presented those earlier, and they'll be in the recording. But we've got 2 months worth of results using Vantage Point Live, and we're at about 8.5% profit in 2 months. So really, really good. And then it looks like I saw one that this gentleman was asking, how does it, I think he's talking about Vantage Point, how does it know the relationships that are more influential than others? That's a good question.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's the power of artificial intelligence. So it knows because it's crunching data. And to boil it down, when I say crunching data, we run millions of data points, the high, low, close, volume, open interest, for every single stock that we test in our software and we forecast for, and as well as the other markets around the world. And AI has the ability to find minuscule, minute patterns and relationships. It's been doing this since 1991, so we're working on 30 years now, 27, 28 years. And the longer that you run an AI system or model, if you will, the more it learns and grows. And when it finds those patterns and relationships, that's what it uses to say, hey, every time the SPY moves, just before that happened, gold moved a buck, let's say. It's just a hypothetical example, but it can figure that out by analyzing all of the data. And just like that Nest thermostat can figure out just by factors in the home whether the temperature needs to go up or down based on artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence Vantage Point is analyzing those factors around the world, and then generating actual usable information, predictions in the software. There's another question about why is Tilray not available? It's a very popular stock, Odette. Tilray is definitely a very popular stock. It IPO'd in July. So it's got, what is that? Maybe 3 months that it's been on the markets, it's been traded. I think it was July. Don't quote me on that, but it's a brand new IPO. Vantage Point does not forecast for IPOs that early unless we can guarantee at least a 70% accuracy, which kind of begs the question, although it's a popular stock, if it can't be forecasted with at least 70% accuracy, should you trust your money with it? And that's really a question you would want to answer for yourself, but that's always kind of the thing I look at.
There's a question from SP, and I'll give my perspective, and then I'm sure you have more information, Daniel. SP's asking what the limitations of the system are. One of the things in our trading at Follow Me Trades is we recognize that Vantage Point is given a prediction based on known information, known price action that's already happened. And so like going into an unknown event like earnings, or if, a major economic report or a drug announcement on a biotech or something like that, it's not going to know about a big major news event coming or a dramatic move based on that. So if we know there's earnings, we're not going to trade right into an earnings report or something like that, because that information's not available to the software yet. Maybe you got more on that, Daniel.
You're exactly right. Those kinds of things, you'll find, and just anecdotally, I've had customers tell me, I like to trade options because I like to gamble once in a while, and I find myself on the right side of, the right side of it more often. I shouldn't say, I don't mean options, I mean earnings. They like to trade earnings because they like to gamble a little bit, and they find themselves on the right side of it more often. That's what I'm hearing from customers, but you're right. It does not forecast earnings. That is a limitation of it. Maybe a good one, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it. And it is using that known information to generate the predictions. But one thing I want to call out is the, when Eva was talking about that medium-term crossover, it is a 4-day predicted EMA. And why I say it's predicted is because it uses 2 days of historical information, but then the artificial intelligence predicts the average price of the future 2 days to create that trend line. So if you think about that, if that line has 2 days of predictive unknown data in the calculation and it moves before a simple moving average, the only way for that simple moving average to move up towards that blue line is if that market or that stock moves up. And that's why it's so accurate, because it actually does predict that information. Real quick, I wanted to show you guys a couple of moves that we've talked about with customers, and I want to go into the scan, and then we'll get back to some of the questions, because the scanner is very, very valuable, and that's where it all starts with Vantage Point. But here's Lowe's, a great optional opportunity in Lowe's. Just the recent one, the underlying. this is a tool available in the software. It's called Profit Calc. If I just draw a profit calculation on here, you can see the underlying moved over 15 bucks in 16 trading days. That's a nice steady trend. Dean, I don't know if you caught that put opportunity there, but there's several like that. Oh, Dean, I got this one from you. Black and Decker. I don't know if you recall one time we were talking about Black and Decker, and it's a stock that has really good options on it, and you can see the forecast on this moved before the end of September. This was September 24th. The predicted difference is pointed down. The medium one's pointed down. The short, everything's pointed down. The neural index agrees. Everything is saying that this was expected to go down. And again, let me just grab that profit calc so we can see what kind of move was forecasted here. Now,
we did trade that down. Yeah.
Nice. Good. 32 bucks per share, 19 trading days. A great opportunity, and it's still going. Depending on whether you do your options out and you get an expiration out 30 days or 60 days, you could always, adjust how you trade something like this by striking early and so on. Eli Lilly, I love this one because not everything's going down, guys. This was forecasted to go up in June, way back here when all the lines crossed. You can see it. The neural index agreed. Everything is sloping up. The short term is sloping up, but not real strong. That's that light blue line. Since then, the blue line has never crossed below the black line. So this is a great longer opportunity that's probably put on, 25 bucks per share since the forecast. A lot of things are getting hurt out there. Eli Lilly is just bulling through it all. So let me jump into IntelliScan really quickly. I know we're probably getting close on time. If not, we're already over a little bit. Sorry about that, Dean. I'm going to open up an IntelliScan really quick before we go because I want to show you how you can scan for different opportunities. The one that I'm opening here is looking for bearish opportunities. This is a scan that you would have used on Friday night to find the opportunities. I've got it set. Let me just make it down. I've got it set to find anything, and I'll walk you through these indicators here. I'm looking for something that's obviously a bearish opportunity. If I'm going to buy puts on this or sell calls on this, I need something that's going down. I'm just making some room here so you guys can see all of the indicators that are available here. So I've got the different crossovers. I've got the short and the medium and the long-term crossover on the screen. The short and the medium term are forecasted to go down. I want the long one to be up because I'm looking for something that's like Dean said, bouncing off of a downtrend. I'm not going to trade a mature trend down, but something coming out of a mature trend that has a fresh crossover and is forecasted to go up or down depending on which scan I'm using. In this case, a bearish one. That could be a very valuable opportunity. Here's the predictive differences. I want them all pointing down since I'm looking for bearish. You guys can all see that. And then, is it optionable? That's the last thing over here on the end that's going to, find an opportunity that can, I can jump into. And then all I have to do is either double click or open that chart, and then I can go find that stock and make my decision on whether or not I want to trade that. All of these filters, if I wanted to go bullish, it's just as easy as saying, hey, you know what? I want all these to say up. I can say up, up. It's just a click of the mouse. They're all saved, and I'm going to flip this one to say down because I want something, that's coming off of a mature trend here. It's because I don't want to trade with that long trend. I want to find something that's reversing. And I'm just going through it. Now, these are all saved. I can go in and save these and name these scans so I don't have to do this every single time. And it'll find those opportunities for me. Again, I'm going up. All right, so it just scanned 861 different opportunities. You see in the top left corner. And it displayed 4 potential opportunities that I can then load into the software and take a look at what they say, because that's one of the things is finding the opportunities, but then you got to do a visual inspection of the chart to make a determination if it meets your needs. Now remember, I've reversed it to say I want to go find a bullish one. I reversed all those indicators and look what happened. It found an opportunity that had a fresh crossover. The neural index agreed. And if I want to put those predictive differences on, I can simply go right over here to my indicator tree and find my short-term difference, pop that on there, my medium-term difference, and my long-term difference. So you can look at that opportunity there. That's something where everything is agreeing, and you've got something bouncing off of coming out of a long, mature downtrend.
I had to go look, Daniel, and today's price bar is pretty much what was predicted.
Good. I'm glad you did. That's the reason Vantage Point was built, to give traders more confidence, better information, to be able to make better decisions. I've had some questions about pricing. There's some questions about packaging. There's a lot of different packages and things that we can put together for everybody. But let me share with you what we're doing for everybody that's involved with Follow Me Trades. Really quick, these are the 5 points I put up before we started, Dean. I think we've encompassed the fact that Vantage Point can help you find the best direction. We did that with a scan just now to figure out which one we want to use. The best investment opportunity, or the best trade to take. The entry point, when that crossover happens, the neural index agrees and those predictive differences all agree. It doesn't get much better than that. And then managing positions with confidence and exiting at the right time. Now, the exiting at the right time is going to be dependent on a couple of things. Whether or not you're at expiration, whether you want to strike early, whether the blue line is crossed. When that blue line, if you're in a long position and the blue line crosses below that black line, that's an indication a downtrend is coming. Well, you guys know well enough that when that happens, it's probably smart to take your money out of that trade. So Dean's put up a link in the chat. If everybody can use that link, we've put together a special package for Follow Me Trades, and we're knocking 30% off any package that you get with Vantage Point, whether it's futures, Forex, stocks, ETFs, Canadian stocks. We leave that up to you. We can mix and match, and we'll customize a package for you. If you go to followmetrades.vantagepointsoftware.com, fill out a short form, and somebody on my team will give you a call and discuss the different packages with you, answer maybe some more questions that I didn't get a chance to get to in this webinar, and really do what you need to do. We like when people join our Vantage Point family. We're looking for lifelong relationships, and we're not looking for quick hits or anything like that. So we hope that, like you follow Dean at Follow Me Trades, that you have an opportunity to join the Vantage Point family.
And the link I just posted, the latest posting there is the one that works. So there, I'll do it again. That link works. Just tested it.
Yep.
There we go.
Dean, I'll turn it back over to you. If there's any last minute questions or anything you want me to show, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I know I want to honor people's time, so we'll wrap it up here pretty quick. If anybody has any kind of burning questions, either about how we're using it here at Follow Me Trades or how it works for Daniel, we'll take a couple more and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This is recorded, and everybody who registered will get an email in an hour or so with a link to watch the recording of this. All right, Robert has one above. There was quite a few. Let me see if I can get back to it. It does not incorporate news, Robert. So it's as I understand it, it's only analyzing price action, the reality of price action, and so that has to happen before Vantage Point can grok what has happened.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I do get that often between news and social. What's the Twitter feed saying, and can it incorporate that information? It does not take that into consideration. All that information is available in price action when you can see the minute changes. I shouldn't say when you can see, because I can't even see it. When the artificial intelligence can pick up on those minute changes, that's available in the price action.
And a question here about, I think for me, follow the trades daily. So, we use Vantage Point to scan for trades, to confirm trades that we're finding with other scanning tools, and then to help manage the trades. When we put a trade on, every day we're checking, price action, and we're checking Vantage Point to see if anything's changed where we would want to, add to the trade, scale in for a bigger profit, or maybe scale out if it's getting risky, or sometimes exit the trade early. So we're using it, again, scanning for trades, confirming trades, and managing trades, and it's really helped us with that.
I'm also seeing, Dina, a couple questions here on price. So the price is a one-time investment for the software. The package that we put together, the smallest investment that we put together for Dean and Follow Me Trades is I think it's like 2,400 and change. Our entry level package is 2,900. So knock 30% off of that. And that's the price that we've put together for Dean, but it ranges. If you want to extend into other asset classes, if you want to extend into other areas, you absolutely can do that, and we'll build a custom package for you, and then we'll lop 30% off of that. And if you wanted to dip your toe in the water and start small at that 2,500 level, you can. I would suggest you do it because, as you can see with Dean's results, you'll soon, generate enough profits to recoup that investment and then diversify into other sectors. The only ongoing investment is for the data feed because it does require global market data. Global market data comes from all the exchanges that Vantage Point needs around the world. It's pulled together by an organization called Traders Only, and they charge $360 a year for the data, and that gets paid directly to Traders Only. So when you sit back and look at it, that's about $1 a day for the data, a one-time investment at small level, $2,500 for the software to get the kind of results and profits that you're seeing, Dean. That's a worthwhile investment, if you ask me.
All right. I see Robert's question, about what sectors you recommend. Probably best, Robert, to have a discussion, to book time, have a discussion with a rep, and they can kind of walk you through some decision criteria there. But I think we're going to go ahead and have to wrap it up here. It's 1/4 I want to honor everybody's time, and I'll go ahead and take the screen back, Daniel. Let me share here. Hey, I just want to thank everybody who showed up for coming and spending your time. I hope you found it useful. And, I've tried to be really transparent. We're using Vantage Point in our trading here at Follow Me Trades, and it's made an important difference. So I have no qualms about saying, hey, I think it's valuable. Again, we're using it. So thanks, everybody. It'll take an hour or two for the recording to get rendered and posted and all that stuff. When it's done, we'll send out an email with the link. So thanks, and hey, take care. Trade safe. Keep your winners big, your losers small, and we will catch you at the next event. Thanks, everybody, very much.